What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Stokastic channel. And today, at long last, we are talking college football DFS. It is week 0. It is here, and I am pumped to get into everything with you guys. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you today by PrizePicks. And if you've never heard of PrizePicks, they have a phenomenal offer for you guys. PrizePicks offers daily prop-based contests. There's no sharks, no optimizers, no mass entries. You make lineups of player props. You can do this across sports. You can use college football. You can combine it with baseball, whatever it is you want. And you can make lineups of up to 5 players where you can win 10 extra entry fee. Better yet, PrizePicks has a phenomenal offer for you guys. If you use the promo code AWESEMO, you're going to get a match deposit bonus up to $100. You can click the link in the video description below or head to PrizePicks. Use that promo code, get yourself $100. All right, we're going to go game by game here. It's an interesting short slate for week 0. We have some FCS opponents. There's a lot to dive into with these teams, and some games don't even have spreads, so take this for what it's worth. Our first game is Austin Peay versus Western Kentucky. No spread, but anticipating a pretty wide spread in favor of Western Kentucky, considering Austin Peay went 6-5 in the FCS last year. Same coaching staff for them. They're fast. They ran nearly 76 plays per game and passed 50% of the time. So it's a spot where maybe you want to take a look at some dart throws receivers like at the min price, something like that. They don't have a clear quarterback right now. Sheldon Layman replaced Draylon Ellis at times last year, and they also got Mike DeLeo transfer from Middle Tennessee State. No clear starter, so we're not messing around with quarterback for this team. Running back also projects to be a timeshare. They used a timeshare for the most part last year. Josh Samuel comes over from Jacksonville State. He'll split time with C.J. Evans, who also doubles as a slot receiver. There's not really good prices on either of these guys, to be honest. So right away, I'm just looking for the cheap receivers. And because this team passes so much, I think there are some names to look at. Dre McCray is really their only returner. Caught 53 balls and 84 targets last year, but he's a little bit expensive. The two guys their coach highlighted that might step up for this team are Trey Goodman and Trey Shackelford. Again, we're not expecting a lot of points for this team, but they throw a lot. So this could be a situation where one of these min-price receivers gets like 5-6 targets. You catch like 4 of them for 40 yards and maybe a score. That could be enough at the minimum. So those are names I want to highlight for this team. Western Kentucky is a team we need to highlight. They're going to be fast. They're going to be up-tempo. They lost their OC, but they have some in-house replacements. So they're going to be similar to what we saw last year. They added Austin Reed, Division II quarterback from West Florida. He's going to be the signal caller now, and he's $9K, which is honestly, I think, serviceable for him. He's somewhat mobile, and he's going to be in that up-tempo pass-heavy scheme that propelled Bailey Zappi to success. I'm not really interested in the running backs. They're going to use a timeshare there, but I do want to target these receivers in this offense. Dawood Davis is 4.8K. He's a guy that caught 43 balls last year for over 700 yards. Now, they also have Malachi Corley. He's just a little more expensive at 7,600, also caught 73 balls, 691 yards. These are their two returners, but there's such a massive price discrepancy here. I think you can just go to Dawood Davis. And then to replace Jarrett Stearns and Tinsley, they added Jalen Hall from Western Michigan and Michael Matheson from Akron. They're at 6.6K and 5.6K respectively. I'm interested in every pass catcher that's going to see the field with an emphasis on Dawood Davis. Below 5K, it's just an egregious price. Game 2, we have Nebraska taking on Northwestern. Middling game environment overall. When you look at the spread here, Nebraska's a 13.5-point favorite. The total is 54.5, which is kind of in that range we're interested in targeting, but don't love. They have a new OC in Whipple coming in. He's the Pitt OC from last year. Pass heavy, fast. We love that. Casey Thompson's the signal caller, comes over from Texas. There's a lot of upside in this offense, not just from a volume perspective, but Thompson left a lot to be desired in the field. No fault of his own. He played through a severe thumb injury last year. 7.2K in this offense is completely worthwhile, not to mention he is somewhat mobile. 157 yards and 4 scores on the ground last year. I'll plant my flag in Thompson. I think he's a solid play. Running back room, we're expecting a timeshare. Pitt used one last year. They have 4 guys that could potentially see work in Jock Hizian, Gabe Irving, Ramir Johnson, and Anthony Grant. Not too much interest, but the receivers are interesting, and this is a good place for GPPs because they flat out won't tell us who's playing. They added Marcus Washington from Texas and Trey Palmer from LSU. Washington's 3.8K, Palmer 6.2. More interest in the cheaper guy. They also have Omar Manning, who was a starter last year, de facto starter, 57% route rate, which isn't great. But they also have Oliver Martin, who played just 6 games last year. He's 4.2K. Ultimately, I don't know what they do with this receiver room, and it's going to take a few weeks to likely shake out. But you can take some shots here, even like an Alante Brown's a name to mention at a cheap price. Because I like Thompson, I'm going to take shots on these receivers. Don't really have a clear favorite. For Northwestern on the other side, big underdog. Ryan Helinski's the signal caller, 17th graded quarterback among 18 qualifiers in the Big Ten last year. He's just not good, and I'm very, very questioning of this pass game. Malik Washington and Bryce Kurtz are their top two. They don't have a clear three, so I'm not even interested really in some darts here. But they run the ball a ton, and they have a good offensive line. So Evan Hall, Cam Porter, these are names worth mentioning. Unfortunately, last year, injuries, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but injuries allowed us to kind of get Evan Hall as the bell cow. Now with Cam Porter returning, I'm worried about a timeshare here. It's not my favorite target, but I think you could do worse than smashing one of these backs. They're GPP plays. The next game is Idaho State, UNLV. Man, what an addition to the slate. Idaho State went 1-10. They have a new head coach. I think they're going to be a little pass heavier and up tempo. They hire Mazzone, who formerly coached wide receivers. I mean, he played with Arizona for a little bit. They had a 53% pass rate and 78 plays per game when he was there. But I don't know, man. This team is just going through so much. Tyler Vanderwaal's their starter. He got hurt last year. He's somewhat mobile, but he's pretty middling as a passer. Their team total is going to be so low. Again, no line for these FCS games. I don't think I'm going to play any signal callers from the FCS teams. Running back, they add Demir Collins from Oregon State, who's actually a really good transfer. He's a small 5'7", 174-pound scat back. He was the top 500 recruit. I think he could catch some passes at the min price. You could do worse than Demir Collins. Receiver, again, I think they're going to be a little more pass heavy. You do have some cheap options in Xavier Gulleroy, Shane Daly, and Christian Fredrickson. We just don't know how the pecking order is going to shake out after they lost a ton of production from last year. I'd rather go the 3K guys like Daly and Fredrickson. Those would be my two guys here, but not much to see. UNLV, they're going to be big favorites here, even though it's, a team that finished 2-10 last year. And I think that's fine. They now replace both coordinators. Nick Holtz comes over as OC. He's never been a play caller, and it's probably not going to be too different than last year. They were very balanced in terms of pass rate, very slow just due to inefficiency. They're going to have more of that here. Harrison Bailey was listed as a co-starter with Doug Brumfeld. You can't really target this quarterback situation. Running back, they do at Louisville transfer Aiden Robbins, who's at 3.3K. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. He's never really seen the field, but now he goes to a lower level of competition in an awesome matchup. He should dominate this Idaho State team, and he is super cheap. Receiver, you have Kyle Williams at 6.3, Michigan State transfer Ricky White at 5.1, and Jeffrey Weimer at 4.4. I think this team just lives through the run. There's a chance that we see more timeshare at receiver too, because they also have Ziel Griffin back, Shelton Zion, who's a tight end. There's a lot of rotation that's in the realm of possibility here for UNLV. I'll plant my flag with running back Aiden Robbins. Wyoming taking on Illinois next. It's a low-scoring game environment, so automatically not one we really want to focus on too much. Illinois is a 10-point favorite with a game that's sitting at a 46.5 total. Not great. Wyoming is probably my least favorite team on the slate, especially from a pass game perspective. They go to Andrew Peasley, a signal caller. He's never had success at any team he's previously played for. He's somewhat mobile, which at least brings him in play, but don't love him here. At running back, this is the only player I have a lot of interest in. It's Titus Swen, who takes over for Xavier Valade. Dwayne McNeely got hurt, who's their backup. He's not going to play in this game. So you actually have a really efficient runner in Swen. He's 5 foot, 202 pounds. And we've seen the workload Wyoming is willing to give their backs. And they're also throw-to backs. Xavier Valade had over 20 catches last year. That's a lot of vacated production that's going to go Swen's way. Nobody is proven behind him. He should get a massive workload. And you're not really ever interested in Wyoming receivers, especially now that they lost their stud to Texas. So, Isaiah Nayer's gone. Abram Eberhardt's gone. They lost Gunnar Gentry to an injury. Joshua Cobb is technically the one, but if I'm playing anyone, it's probably tight end Trayton Welch, who actually had a pretty good route rate last year. He's an athletic, big-body tight end, but don't love the pass game. Illinois, you have Tommy DeVito named the starter. He's a bit expensive when you can get Casey Thompson at essentially the same price. Tommy DeVito, 7.1K. He's somewhat mobile, which keeps him in line here, but I think Illinois just runs the ball down Wyoming's throat, which brings me to Chase Brown. 7.9K. He's expensive, but he's an awesome pass catcher. He's extremely efficient on the ground. Illinois, interestingly, didn't give him a full workload early in the year, but then they realized this guy is their best playmaker on offense. He's someone that should get a massive workload, and I'm willing to eat the 7.9K here. At receiver, Isaiah Washington, 7.3K. This team's just not going to throw the ball a lot, especially in this game. So I don't know if I want to pay that much money for him, but he's dynamic. He's a former quarterback, and he runs the ball quite a bit here as well. From there, they have Casey Washington, Brian Hightower, and Pat Bryant rolling things out. New OC here in Looney, who had a lot of success at UTSA. He throws the tight end a fair amount, so maybe Luke Ford's a GPP play, but not a ton of options for the Illinois pass game, focusing on Chase Brown here. Next game, we have UConn taking on Utah State. Man, this is a fun one. I actually like UConn in the game, but they're still 27-point underdogs in a game with a 60.5 total. That gives them an implied team total just shy of 17, so it's tough. Taquan Roberson was listed as co-starters with 4 players. I still think he plays all the snaps, but 5.7K for a guy that might not see the field the whole game is risky. He's mobile, so at least he is that. They listed Robert Burns as the starter over Nathan Carter. I think it's a timeshare, but Burns is min price if you want to take a flyer. And then this team should throw the ball a little bit more. New head coach, new OC. They returned their top 3 receivers in Kevin's Clarcius, Keelan Marion, and Aaron Turner. Marion and Turner are 3.2 and 3.1K, so for min price dart throws, firmly in play. Utah State undergoing a severe rebuild, but they have a 44 implied team total, so they need to be considered. They're also up-tempo, and they were 8th overall in plays per game. Pass rate 57, so we love that. Logan Bonner's back. He's a veteran. I mean, he's going to have a ton of opportunity. I like Casey Thompson more and Austin Reed, but Bonner's right there. Not mobile, but he's going to throw the ball a ton. They return Calvin Tyler. Behind him is Pilate Makakona and John Gentry. They should just be change of pace options. Tyler's certainly fine. 8.1K. I'd rather play some of the cheaper backs like Brown. But receiver, we need to target these receivers. Justin McGriff, 6.8K. He's their leading returner. They add Brian Cobbs from Maryland. He's 6K. He's certainly in play. And then they listed co-starters for their final position between JUCO transfer Terrell Vaughn, Kyle Van Leeuwen, and 9-9 Davis. I think they're all worth dart throws because they're all below 4.2K. We don't know who the starter is going to be. One of them probably emerges. We just don't know who that is. Last game here, we have Duquesne taking on Florida State. No spread yet, but should be massive in favor of Florida State. Duquesne was 7-3 last year. They're very slow and run heavy. With that, they're still pretty successful. Darius Parantes is not mobile. He's not a passer. He's a pure game manager. Quarterback, I'm out on him. They returned Billy Lucas, but they add a bunch of transfers here. So I'm anticipating a 3 or 4 way timeshare. Not interested really at running back. And then receiver, they lost their top 5 guys. Joey Isabella is their top returner. He's 5'9", 185. He caught 12 balls last year. He's Andy Isabella's brother, so if you want to play that narrative. But I think their number 1 is going to be Marist transfer Dwayne Menders, who caught a bunch of balls, 525 yards last year for Marist. And then Ryan Iacone is maybe their 3. They also have Toledo transfer Jalen Cooper, Old Dominion transfer Raphael McCoy. Neither of them have produced, but they're higher recruits from a higher level of competition. Maybe they get in. Their tight end is former Wisconsin tight end Quan Easterling. He probably takes over right away, but I'm not targeting anyone in this pass game. Not only are they not going to score a lot of points, but it's extremely volatile. Florida State, you have Jordan Travis, 8.8K. The only issue I have with Travis is their offensive line's banged up, and it's been banged up in camp. They held him out of the scrimmage. He's awesome when he's on the field. He actually was the 6th highest graded pure passer in the ACC last year, and we know what he can do with his legs. But if they beat Duquesne badly, does he play the full game? Do they use his legs, or do they just ride some of their rushers? One of the biggest GPP spots I like is Trayshawn Ward, Lawrence Tuafoli, and Trey Benson. Trey Benson comes over from Oregon State. It'll be a timeshare between Ward and Tuafoli, but I think people are going to focus on some of the bell cow backs like Swen and Brown, and you might get an equal number of scores in this offense, even though it's a timeshare. So I love them for GPPs. Receiver Micah Pittman was the only clear starter listed on the depth chart. He's the Oregon transfer. From there, they listed co-starters between Ontario Wilson, Deuce Spann, Johnny Wilson, and Malik McClain. Of this group, I think Johnny Wilson and Deuce Spann are the most interesting. Wilson is a 6'7", 225-pound receiver who moves fluidly, played with Arizona State last year. And then Deuce Spann, wasn't expecting him to be labeled a co-starter, especially considering they still have former starter Keyshawn Helton, West Virginia transfer Winston Wright, gadget guy Ja'Kai Douglas. But Deuce Spann was listed as a starter over them. He's 3.2K. I mean, you can take a flyer. And last but not least, Cameron McDonald's back. He was a pretty good tight end for them. Lines up in the slot about 40 to 50% of his snaps, give or take, on a weekly basis. He's 4K flat. He'll catch a lot of balls for this team, which is completely fine. That'll do it for us today. Let me know in the comment section who you particularly like in the week 0 DFS slate. I will make sure to get back to you, and I'm pumped for this week. I absolutely cannot wait. Thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring the video. And make sure to like the video on the way out, subscribe to the channel, all of that. My name is Matt Gajeski on Twitter at Matt_Gajeski. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys again next time.